In a world where left is up and right is apparently wrong, two souls make sense of it all, or at least have fun trying. Gear up, friends, for Chicken and the Dog. Welcome to another episode of Chicken and the Dog. I am the dog, and with me, as always, is the guy that is ready to put an end to yell practice once and for all. The chicken. What up, Doug?
What up? Yeah, they may not need to practice this week. I'm sure that they'll get all the opportunity during the game to scream as loud as they want.
My friend, and we'll get into that game later in the show, but I find yourself dead wrong, and I actually believe it's the upset of the week. That's my take, and we'll get into that more, and I'll give you reasons behind that later on. But look, let's go ahead and jump into the playoff rankings that just came out. A little bit shifted as BYU lost last week against Texas Tech. So that changed things up. That actually puts BYU completely out of it. So Ohio State and Indiana and Texas A&M still 1, 2, and 3. Alabama's still 4. Georgia's number 5. Nothing changed there. Texas Tech jumped up 2 spots to number 6. Maybe deservingly so. They played BYU really well last week. Beat them handedly. Ole Miss dropped down 1. Okay, they're still in the mix. Oregon is up 1. They're at number 8. Notre Dame at number 9. Texas at number 10. And that's where it actually stops. That's where it actually stops as far as who gets in or not, because there's no ACC team in that top, anything past top 10. And there's no
Group
of 5 in there. Yep. So right now, the top ACC team, the Fighting Becks, are back in it. They're back in the mix. We'll see. My opinion is the only ACC team that's getting is the conference champion. Whoever that is, that's who's getting in. Everybody else will be left out. Depending on how BYU finishes out, that may be the same case for the Big 12. But there's still more football to play. The group of 5 right now that is everybody's looking at is, again, South Florida. So it's these 3 or 4 teams that just really, it depends on what happens at the end of the stretch or whatever. So right now, South Florida is in the mix for that. But I think one of the most interesting things that happens, but I don't think this holds true, but right now, 5 SEC teams are in it. You and I have been saying we thought 5 could be in it at the end of the season, at the end of the year. That still may be true. I know we only have a few weeks of football left, but there's still a lot of football to be played and a lot of things that can move in there, but nothing really drastic happened. I mean, with the exception of Virginia and Louisville really falling out of it.
No, but again, and you mentioned this already, there's still a lot of football to be played. And if you look at number 10 and then number 11, Texas and Oklahoma, some pretty big games for them this weekend, and we'll get into that later. But does Texas fall out this week? Does Georgia shift a little bit with a big game on their horizon this week? What happens to Oklahoma this week? So still a lot of movement left to be seen. I don't call BYU out of it yet. A very dramatic fall for them to fall 5 spots. But there's still opportunity there and still conference championship games to be played.
That's right. I mean, if Texas Tech wins out and BYU wins out and they go face each other in the conference championship, let's say BYU pulls out the win, it may be hard to drop both of them out of the playoff bracket. It may be. I think a lot of that's going to depend on the SEC and how that plays out, and potentially Oregon. Oregon's got to stay in this mix. If they drop another game, it may be hard for them because with a 1-loss Oregon, they're sitting at number 8 right now. You get a 2-loss Oregon in there, that could really make them fall down pretty hard. We'll see. Like
Absolutely.
I said, there's still a lot of football left, right?
A lot of football, and again, I'll come back to Texas. They've got Georgia this weekend, and then they've got to close out the year with Texas A&M. Two huge games still left
Ooh.
to be played on their horizon. The likelihood that they escape both of those unscathed, I'm thinking not, Smokey D.
Oh, no, probably not. Did you say huge or huge?
I said huge because it's early, and I'm not at.
Oh, I'm always there most of the time. We wake up, dogs wake up like that. Chickens take a little bit. They got to crow a little bit. They got to get moving, strutting a little bit before they're really into the groove. I get it.
Got to clear my throat. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Before we get into games, there's one other thing that I really want to talk about that's kind of a headline right now. You and I had some great conversations about this. I'm going to kind of tee it up and let you take over because I think you dived in a little bit further than I did. But Brian Kelly and the LSU Tigers are not done yet. LSU, there's a lawsuit going on right now between the two. A lot of chaos. I think way too many parties got involved in this thing, but it is a mess in Baton Rouge right now.
It is. And I think it stemmed from way too many cooks in the kitchen. And then you had other players introduced after the fact. Everybody knows that there was a Sunday morning meeting in which Brian Kelly was dismissed. There was an email that was published from Brian Kelly to the university, thanking them for the opportunity to have been part of the program, reminding them, because he referred to a previous conversation that he would be open to talks about other settlements for his buyout amount and what that would look like as long as it was fair and served both parties. Even alluding to, did I need to come by and clean out my own office, or would somebody, which this happens in corporate America a lot, we'll clean it out and ship it to you. We'll send you your stuff. Just give us the keys, kind of a deal. That was Brian Kelly's exit. And for all the other bad things we've heard about Brian Kelly, it was a pretty stand-up way to handle it on his part. In the meantime, the governor of Louisiana stepped in, and I know nothing about this governor other than this story. So I don't know his name. I don't know his party affiliation. I don't live in Louisiana, so I don't care about any of those things. But he stuck his opinion in here, insinuating that the taxpayers of the great state of Louisiana shouldn't be on the hook for paying off Brian Kelly's buyout clause and all this other stuff. That's not the case, sports fan. The boosters of your great university take care of that. They've always taken care of that. The only thing at a state school that they pay for is the salary that was agreed to in the first place. And that's usually nowhere near the amount that your coaches actually paid. Okay. Mm-hmm. All of those millions of dollars that these big name coaches have in their annual income, that ain't coming from the state. Usually, and I'm going back several years, as a state school, they might be, depending on what the cap amount is in your state, getting paid $200,000 a year from the school, from the athletic department. All that other money comes in from advertising, sponsorships, be it a Nike school, an Under Armour school, an Adidas school, I go on and on and on. And then other agreements that are funded by the boosters. The buyout for a coach is funded by the boosters. Remember when Jimbo Fisher got ousted from Texas A&M? And the comments were, oil money buys a lot of things, including fresh starts. It cost a lot of money to get rid of Jimbo Fisher, but Texas A&M found a way to come up with the cash through the boosters, not through the taxpayers of Texas. So the governor sticking his nose and unfounded opinions into this messed things up. It ended up causing the athletic director of LSU, was he deserving of this? Again, I don't know, and I don't care, to lose his job. He's not the guy anymore. So now you got a situation with not only too many cooks in the kitchen, but too many new cooks in the kitchen. LSU's position at this point, as I come back around, is that, well, we never officially dismissed Brian Kelly. Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. And so essentially what they're trying to say now is like, well, he just hasn't shown up for work. So now we're firing him with cause. And based on that, we're not paying him this buyout. Brian Kelly has come back and said, you know what? All that settlement stuff, yeah, I want it all. I want every dime that you owe me. Now, the lawyers will get involved. They will sift through this and come to an agreement that we will probably, unless we're like you and I, and dig into this stuff because we don't have anything else to do with our free time. Nobody else is ever really going to know. ESPN is not going to come out and in a specific segment of SportsCenter tell you what Brian Kelly's buyout ended up being. However, as we say a lot of times on this show, LSU, not a good look.
Not a good look
Not a
at
good
all.
look. The way that you treat the coach that's leaving your program is going to directly impact the coach that wants to talk to you now about taking over your program. If you're going to treat that guy like that on his way out, instead of trying to figure things out and leave amicably, how are you going to treat me if my day comes? So there'll be a lot of guys that will happily cross their name off of LSU's list before that phone call even happens.
That's right. Now, two things on that. One is I think Jimbo Fisher became a billionaire because of that buyout. I'm just saying.
You throw a
It
little
was
scratch
large.
my way, Jimbo. Come on.
Yeah, I know. But the other thing is I think it's interesting, and you said it quite a bit. The governor got involved in this thing in a lot of different ways, right? He actually was the guy, I think the one that announced that the interim tag has been lifted off of the new AD. Let me ask you this question. Do you believe that this is now a trend where you're going to be seeing government officials like governors get involved in things like this now because of the money that is involved in paying players? Is it become so big and so powerful that now the government, like in most cases, and we won't go down that rabbit hole too far, but in most cases, governments go, oh, I want to be involved in that because that's where the money is.
No, I think that's a big jump for me in how I see it. What I think you're going to see is more situations where they might make a comment as a fan. Man, I really hope that because we're talking about them, LSU gets this thing worked out. You know, love the great university, blah blah blah, all the political speak things, because ultimately what's worth more to these politicians is votes, and staying in power. In my view, this backfires a great deal. And I'll bring it back to my state in South Carolina. I don't want my governor talking about Clemson or Coastal or the University of South Carolina, unless it's to say, hey, man, Dawn Staley and the Lady Gamecocks had another great year at basketball. Congratulations. Dabo Swinney and the Clemson Tigers won the national championship in football again. Congratulations. Coastal Carolina made a great showing in the College World Series again. Congratulations. We love and support our state universities, our state schools, and then back it up from there. I do not want Henry McMaster, as he sits in the seat today, or any future governor of South Carolina coming in and sticking their nose in who should or shouldn't be the head coach at a program. Why? That's not their full-time gig. I want somebody at the University of South Carolina, the University of Clemson, or LSU that does this sort of thing for a living. Not trying to figure out, am I taxing them enough? Do I need to rewrite taxes differently? What have I got in terms of, am I up for a second term? Like, I want politicians, think politician stuff. Stay out of my school.
That's right. Yes, I agree with that. And I hope this is a one-off when it comes to this. I really do. But time will tell, right? Let's get into these games because there's a lot to talk about. Here's a team we have not spoke about when it comes to upcoming games in several weeks. And it's kind of interesting because they are from the great state of South Carolina. Clemson Tigers, they are 4-5, 3-4 in the ACC, takes on a number 20 LSU. 7-2, 4-2 in the
They
ACC.
are not taking on LSU. They did that at the beginning of the year.
Sorry, Louisville.
And
Sorry,
you want to
okay.
talk
Maybe
about
I'm not as weight.
maybe you should clear your
All
throat.
right. Yeah, maybe I need to do something. They are taking a number 20 Louisville. Maybe because we were just talking about LSU. I don't know. But it was in my brain. Anyway, Louisville is favored to win that game by 2.5 points. They are in Louisville. I say Louisville wins this game, delivers Dabo another loss.
I am going to go a little bit against the grain here outside of the upstate of South Carolina where everybody bleeds orange and they always believe in the Tigers. And I'm going to go very uncharacteristically chicken. I think that Clemson's got a real shot in this game. I think that their last two ball games have taught Clemson a lot. Losing to Duke for the first time on your home field in over 40 years, that was a big deal for the Clemson Tigers. But then to also come back and win against Florida State, again, on your home field, the way that they did last week, I think began to build some more confidence back into this team. I don't know why or exactly what ingredient it was that was missing, but it was beginning to affect their confidence. I believe that they've rallied after that Duke loss. I believe that they showed that and got some confidence back in their win last week. And I look for Clemson to play this game really close and come out with the upset in Louisville.
Wow. I mean, maybe you're right. Maybe you're not. You got a shot. That's all I could say, right?
50-50, right?
So you're saying there's a chance.
There's a chance. One of them's got to win, yeah.
Here's another game in the Big Ten that I think could be fun to watch. A very good 6-3, 4-2 in the Big Ten, Minnesota, has to travel to Eugene, Oregon, and take on a number 8, 8-1, 5-1 in the Big Ten, Oregon. Oregon is favored by 25.5 points, over and under 44.5. I like Oregon in this game. However, I would bet against the spread. I think that spread is too much.
Oregon, uncharacteristically, again, needed their kicker to win last week. So I agree with you. And I've said it before this season, Minnesota is one of those programs that they row the boat, right? Like they're always working, always scrapping. I think that they keep it a lot closer than what the spread has it. But I do like the Ducks to win this game.
Let's stick with the Big Ten for a moment. A 3-6, 1-5 Wisconsin takes on a 10-0, 7-0 in the Big Ten. Number 2, my friends, Indiana, in Bloomington, Indiana. Indiana's favored to win that game by 29.5 points, over and under 44.5. I like Mendoza in this game. I like Mendoza, period. Maybe even like Mendoza to win the Heisman. I like Indiana big.
I don't know what a Hoosier is. I don't know what a Hoosier does. But whatever the definition may be, they're going to do a lot of it on Saturday. I think that Indiana got the wake-up call that they needed by having to go so close with a struggling Penn State team last week that a struggling Wisconsin team is just in the way right now. And I think that Mendoza and the Indiana Hoosiers are going to go all over them Hoosier style on Saturday.
The Badgers may actually change their mascot to the Hoosiers. I don't know.
They may.
It's possible.
It's not seen a lot with Wisconsin, but they may go white jerseys and brown pants just to make sure that you can't tell.
There's a chance. This game right here, man. I think. Anyway, it's a very, very interesting game. A number 9, 7-2 Notre Dame takes on a very good 7-2 number 22 Pitt in Pittsburgh. Notre Dame's favored to win that game by 11.5 points. There's so many implications in this game. Does Pittsburgh try to win this game to keep their hopes alive for an ACC championship bid? If Notre Dame loses this game, they're completely out of the conversation. with all of that being said, I think the Fighting Irish are pretty good this year. I think they handle Pitt. Look, Notre Dame is favored to win that game by 11.5. I don't know if it'll be quite that much, but I like Notre Dame in this game.
Notre Dame in this game. I like the line in this game. I think that Pitt is scrappy. They've fought their way to that with a 7-2 record, but there's nothing enormous about the Panthers right now that really jumps off the page. They're a good football team, but they're not a dominant football team yet. So I like Notre Dame in this game.
Back to the Big Ten. So a number 18 Michigan, 7-2, 5-1 in the Big Ten. 5-1 in the Big Ten, guys. Takes on a 5-4, 3-3 in the Big Ten Northwestern in Chicago, Illinois. I like Michigan in this game. They're favored to win by 12.5 points, over and under 41.5. I like Michigan and Michigan big. And as I'm saying this, I'm also thinking Michigan is 5-1, guys. If they win out, including beating Ohio State at the end, are they in? Could be.
They're making a run at it, and I agree. I like the Wolverines all day long in this matchup. I think they take on Northwestern. Purple guys, you let me down a couple weeks ago by not taking out that team from the left coast. But anyway, I digress. So there may be some chicken revenge in this, and I hope that Michigan helps me with that lightweight work. But no, they are making a path not only to the Big Ten championship matchup, but also to the playoffs. And I think Michigan's got a pretty good road ahead if they can just hold steady.
I think so too. This next game has got again, we're in this season where there's so many implications, right? That shifts everything. And this one isn't any different. A number 24, South Florida, they're 7-2, 4-1 in the American. Take on another American team, a 7-2, 5-1 in the American, Navy. They are playing at Navy's hometown, Annapolis. South Florida is favored to win that game by 10.5 points. You got to wonder how cold it's going to be there in Maryland. I don't know. How does that have an effect? I like the midshipmen to win this game.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we went with the midshipmen over Notre Dame, or at least I did not long ago, which is one of their 2 losses. Sorry, Navy. But the reason for that was that option attack that Navy has. I don't know that South Florida has the ability to conquer all of those obstacles, being an away game in a climate that you are not used to coming from the Tampa, Florida area, and going up against the option attack, which most of these guys have not played against since Pop Warner football. This is going to be a long afternoon. Horvath, the quarterback there at Navy, has been doing this for years. I think he's an admiral by now. But I look for Navy to come out on top.
Yeah. Horvath.
There you
go. Hey, look, man, I should have done this earlier. And I'm sorry, it just slipped my mind, but it's made me think about it. Look, man, I know we're a day past, and by the time this thing hits, maybe 2 days past, but happy Veterans Day to all the people that have served, all the veterans that listen to this show. You and I know a lot of veterans. I am a veteran. My wife is a veteran. We've had Senior Chief on this show. He's a veteran. I think Uncle Kenny fought in the Civil War. He's still around. I don't know. I just said that. Maybe World War One. But anyway, we have that's what happens when you pickle your liver. You just live forever sometimes.
That's true. It's a preservative.
But it's a preservative. That's right. But look, we love you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for for signing up for what you signed up for. You have a daughter that's in there. I'll give a shout out to her. We appreciate what she's done for our country as well. And it looks like your son-in-law might be doing that soon too. So hats off to him.
Yeah, he leaves.
Veterans, we love you.
Yeah, he leaves next week for basic training. So we're pretty excited about it.
That's right. We'll be praying for you, young man.
Just so he can stay.
Well, there may be that too. I'm just playing. Well, your son-in-law just made the show finally.
There you go.
There's that. All right, back to games. Big 12 game. Arizona 6-3, 3-3 in the Big 12. Arizona has to go to Cincinnati, Ohio to take on a number 25, 7-2. Here's another one, 5-1 in the Big 12. They are a one-loss Big 12 team. So these guys are all fighting, man, for those two spots. Cincinnati's fair to win that game by 6.5. I like Cincy in this game. I don't think Arizona can hang with the cold weather that's going to be happening in Ohio. I think that's going to have effect. The home field advantage, like you said a minute ago with Navy, is going to have an effect. I like Cincinnati.
Yeah, I mean, this is the time of year that Arizona starts doing some things that nobody expects, and they start stealing some wins. This is not the week that they do that. I think the Bearcats all the way.
I don't think so. Big 12. Stay with the Big 12. Central Florida is 4-5. I know that you're not used to hearing that over the last several years. They've been relevant for quite some time, but they are now playing in Power 5 conference, so there's some difference in that. But they're 1-5 in the Big 12. They're taking on a number 6, 9-1, 6-1 in the Big 12. Texas Tech. Texas Tech is back in Lubbock again after beating BYU. Tech is favored to win that game by 23.5 points, over and under 47.5. Tech rolls right through them.
When it comes to Texas Tech, and Rube, I hope you're listening, I go with my gut. Now, I will tell you this, after such an enormous win that they had last week against BYU, this has all the trappings of a trap game. You are at home. You are facing a largely undeserving opponent in Central Florida. However, Rube, I think that your Texas Tech Red Raiders are going to be just fine on Saturday. I think that they walk all over Central Florida in this one. It's going to be a long day to be a Golden Knight, but hey, as I'm prone to say, wait till next year.
That's right. I don't know if you gave Rube kind of a little heart attack, man. You may have had him in suspense for a moment. I don't know.
But I could have gotten his dander
if you
up.
did,
You never know.
Sorry, buddy.
There you go. You'll get over it.
Yeah, that's right. ACC, a 5-4, 2-3 in the ACC. NC State right now is taking on the leader in the ACC, a 7-2, 3-2 in the ACC. Number 15, Miami, the Fighting Becks. They are playing in Miami, Florida. Miami's favored by 14.5 points. 55.5 is the over and under. I like NC State in this game because I think Beck is going to have a Beck-ish type game because the pressure is now on him.
So if you look, and I did a lot of research on this one, believe it or not. So NC State, they've played one of the top schools in the ACC already this year, and they took down Georgia Tech. That does not translate into we beat the Yellow Jackets, therefore we can beat Miami. Two entirely different offensive approaches from those two schools. I also went pretty deep into the defense for NC State, and quite frankly, they're just not very good. I was hoping that they like to take the ball away, high turnover ratio. Not really. But here's the good news, Wolfpack. Carson Beck likes to give the ball away. So you don't have to do a whole lot of taking. You just got to stand still and wait for him to throw it right at you. I agree. If you look at Beck's numbers this year, he's had a Beck kind of a season. And this could easily be one of those games where he just can't handle the pressure. And as I thought back over his time at Georgia, I thought back to how many of those big moments where he was in, maybe the game against Missouri several years ago, where it just went down to the wire and no one understood why. Did Carson Beck rise to the occasion in those moments, or was it just the Georgia Bulldogs and he happened to be wearing red that night? I don't see Carson Beck, again, at a college level as being the guy that puts the program on his back and carries them to victory. This could be the kind of game, and I believe it will be, where NC State shows up, punches somebody in the mouth, Beck decides to give them the ball 3 or 4 times, and the Wolfpack come away with victory.
We are like-minded, my friend. Sometimes. At least on this. Speaking of Georgia Tech, number 16, 8-1, 5-1 in the ACC. Georgia Tech has to go and take on a struggling 1-9, 0-6 in the ACC, Boston College. Tech is favored by 16.5 points, over and under 58.5. Tech rolls through them this weekend to gain that top spot back at the ACC.
The struggle is real in Chestnut Hill, and the struggle will continue in Chestnut Hill. Georgia Tech will wear them out on Saturday. Haynes King's going to have a big day. Georgia Tech all the way.
You know, you spent more time on that NC State and Miami game than I thought you would. And I think this next game that we're going to talk about, it's probably going to be the same. You're probably going to be very, very long-winded on this game, as you are most weeks when we talk about one of these particular teams. So in the Big Ten, a number 21, 6-3, 4-2 in the Big Ten, Iowa takes on a number 17, 7-2, 5-1 in the Big Ten, Fighting Prophylactics, Southern Cal. They're playing in LA. Southern Cal is favored to win that game by 6.5 points. I like Iowa in this game. All right. On to the next one. A number 19, Virginia. They're 8-2, 5-1 in the ACC. Takes on a 5-4, 4-1 in the ACC, Duke. They're playing in Durham, North Carolina. Duke is favored to win that game by 5.5 points. 57.5 is the over and under. Look, man, I like Duke in this game.
I love what Tony Elliott has been doing in Charlottesville, Virginia this year. I love the record that the Cavaliers have. They've had a couple of years leading up to this where they're really struggling. Obviously, some team tragedy a few years ago that they've had to rebuild back from. Having a great season this year. David Mensah of Duke, 2,700 yards, almost 2,800 yards on the season, 24 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. This kid can spin it. I like Duke on Saturday at home.
Nice. Number 13, 7-2, 4-2 in the Big 12. Utah takes on a 5-4, 3-3 Baylor Bears in Baylor, in Waco. I drove by that stadium the other day. Utah is favored by 8.5 points, over under 60.5. Because I drove by that stadium, I'm going Baylor Bears.
I'm going to agree with you on this. And it's, again, Rube, you've heard me say it before. We're back in your conference in the Big 12. I go on feeling a lot of time with these games, and there's just something about Robertson and the Baylor Bears that have my attention this week. Utah, sorry, fellas, you're going to get knocked off. I look for Baylor to keep things interesting in the Big 12 and put the Utes down a peg.
This next game is quite, it could be, I don't know, man. You never know. Because this guy, he's a train wreck, but he's got flashes of greatness.
Oh,
So a 3-6.
Ryan Day.
I'm going with the Fighting Nico. So
Gotcha.
3-6, 3-3 in the Big Ten. UCLA is having to take a trip to Columbus, Ohio, to take on the number 1 team in the country. They are 9-0, 6-0 in the Big Ten. Ohio State. Ohio State is favored to win that game by 32.5 points. Over and under is 48.5. I think Ohio State, just rips right through them. But Nico has shown to play well.
I don't know what his teammates call him on campus in the locker room. I don't know what the buzz is in Columbus, but I'm just going to throw this out there. Take it, leave it, whatever. To me, it's a golden branding and marketing opportunity. Your middle name needs to be Just. Julian, just saying. Because that's all he does. He just comes out, hey, just saying. Throws another couple of touchdowns, but just saying. Right? Like, that's what this kid does, and that's all he's going to do all day long against Nico and the Bears from UCLA, the Bruins, if you want to call them that. You're a Bear. Shut up. 24 touchdowns to 4 interceptions on the year, almost 2,500 yards for Julian Sayin. I think he throws for like 300 on Saturday. Another few touchdown passes, no interceptions coming from this guy against the Bruins. It's going to be a long afternoon and a long flight home for UCLA.
I agree. And look, man, I mean, I think you're right, man. I think Julian Sands the real deal at Ohio State. The good thing is the good thing for Ohio State, they got him for a couple more years, right? And so, I mean, he's only thrown 4 picks this year. Now, he hasn't played SEC defenses except for one, so I'll give him that. But I mean, he's legit. One more game that I want to talk about in the top 25. A 6-3, 3-3 in the Big 12 takes on an 8-1, 5-1 in the Big 12. Number 12 BYU. There was a lot of 12s in what I just said.
There were.
So a number 12 BYU. BYU, they're playing in Utah. BYU's favored to win by 4.5 points. I think the Fighting Mormons come out after a hard loss last week against Texas Tech and have a big win against the Fighting Christians.
Keep this in mind. The Horned Frogs of Texas Christian have a quarterback who has thrown for almost 2,700 yards this year, 23 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. Hoover, number 10 on your program, number 1 in your heart, Horned Frog fan, is the guy that you have to be able to lean on this coming week. But will you be able to lean on him enough? It is a tight spread. I like the fact that it's tight, that Vegas thinks that this is going to be a close one. I tend to think that BYU is going to find a way. I don't think it's going to be a bounce back victory. I don't think that they're going to come back from that loss against Texas Tech and just prove all the doubters wrong. But I do think that they find a way to win this one. It is at home in Provo. So give them the edge. I like BYU.
All right, let's jump into the SEC because there's a bunch. 3-6, 1-6 in the SEC. South Carolina Gamecocks has to go to College Station and take on a very good 9-0, 6-0 in the SEC, Texas A&M. A&M is favored to win that game by 19.5 points. The over and under is 47.5. I like South Carolina in this game, and let me tell you why. 2 things. I think what happens this weekend is your offensive line shows up like they did against Alabama. I think A&M is due for an upset. They are. Do I think A&M's a great team? Absolutely, I do. What Elko is doing in College Station is nothing short of greatness right now, no doubt. But Shane Beamer is also due for a big win, and a big road win at that. Give me South Carolina Gamecocks for the upset.
It is November. We did lighten the load by letting Mike Shula go from his offensive coordinator responsibilities. There is an energy in the OC seat right now with Mike Fury, the wide receivers coach. He's going to be calling the plays in this game, and he'll be calling the plays going forward throughout the remainder of the season. The players love him. The other coaches love him. There's a lot of buzz surrounding that. Bob, I understand that they're going to your house in College Station. I understand that in some people's minds, A&M is probably due for an upset. We have said on this show plenty of times that it is more and more difficult to go undefeated, especially in the SEC. South Carolina was ranked in the top 10 to begin the year, and look at their record now. That's not because the talent that was seen by the prognosticators at the beginning of the season suddenly isn't there. It's just been through a lot of stuff and a lot of injuries, and the fact that you've played one of the toughest schedules in the conference as it's hashed out this year, and that a glut of that stress came in a 4-week consecutive stretch where you didn't have a bye week to at least catch your breath. That said, I don't think that any of those things that might be in Carolina's favor will swing far enough the pendulum back the other way to cause an upset on Saturday. I think the Aggies win this one. I think that it's too early for them to look past an opponent to Texas at the end of the year. I think that probably happens next week. I love my Gamecocks, but I got to be real on this. I think we come away with another L on Saturday.
Spurs up. Just going to say it. All right. A 2-7, 0-5 in the SEC. Arkansas has to go to the other dumpster fire that's in the SEC. 5-4, 2-4 in the SEC. LSU, they're playing in Baton Rouge. LSU is favored by 5.5 points. Yeah, give me LSU.
Yeah, I like LSU in this game. I like the fact that Arkansas, from a points on the board standpoint, has not quit this season. They've continued to go out and do all that they can do to at least score points, but they just don't have the defense. And I look for LSU to take advantage of that. LSU has had their own issues on offense, but I think that they're able to put up enough to outscore the Hogs on Saturday.
You know what I haven't heard, though, is Nussmeier starting that game or is Van Buren starting that game? I don't know. They've announced the Florida game.
Yeah, and I don't know that it matters, honestly, which one of those guys starts this game. If it is Nuss, he has the opportunity to come out and kind of right the ship on what's left of the season for him. But either way, I think LSU comes out with their sixth and bowl qualifying win on Saturday.
I just think it's incredible, man, how Garrett Nussmeier, and we talked this dude up in the offseason so much, man, and the expectations for this kid was through the roof, and it just didn't pan out for him at all. So, but a 10-0 Tennessee Tech is taking on a 4-5 Kentucky Wildcats in Lexington, Kentucky. Kentucky goes 500 with a win against Tennessee Tech, and unfortunately, they will be 10-1 after this weekend.
How many times does a struggling school go up against an undefeated school, beat them, and it still doesn't count as an upset?
I know, right?
Right. Like, this is just weird. Kentucky is going to put an end to the perfect season of Tennessee Tech in Lexington on Saturday. Stoops is doing what we didn't see coming. I thought they were going to have a much different outcome than what they're having this year. They've turned some things around. Cutter Bowley in Kentucky is shaping up to show that he's got some tools to compete in this conference. He's not the flashiest quarterback in the SEC by any stretch, but he's showing that he can compete. I like the Wildcats.
All right, number 11, 7-2, 3-2 in the SEC. Oklahoma has to travel to Tuscaloosa to take on an 8-0, 6-0 in the SEC. Number 4, Alabama Crimson Tide. Alabama is favored to win that game by 6.5 points. 45.5 is it over and under. I think Alabama's the best team in the SEC. I'm just going to say it. As it stands right now, I think Georgia and A&M and Ole Miss them three are a close second. I think all of them are in the mix. I like Alabama in this game. I think so. I do. I think Ty Simpson's going to do pretty good.
I agree. The biggest question mark that we've seen in Alabama this year is the run game, which is very uncharacteristic for the Tide. But Ty Simpson, with all the other talk about quarterbacks in this conference, and Mateer being one of those for Oklahoma, Ty Simpson has not gotten the media buzz that I think that he deserves. 2,461 yards through the air, 21 touchdown passes, 1 interception. 9 games, 1 interception. This is a big matchup on Saturday, 3:30 in the afternoon on ABC Eastern Standard Time. I think that the Tide rolls. I don't think that Oklahoma is there yet. They're off to a great start this year in the SEC after a disappointing debut season last year. But I think that Alabama continues to be the best team in the conference this Saturday.
And yeah, I mean, I 100% agree. And also, you got to remember, Oklahoma upsetted Alabama last year. I'm not saying this is a revenge game, but it's a revenge game.
It's a revenge game. It's back home in Tuscaloosa. We're going to slap you around and show you what really all about. Ty Simpson has a big day.
See, Alabama and the Crimson Tide fans, they are the most arrogant people you'll know. And I say this all the time. And I think they have a right to be that. 18 national championships. How many teams can say that, right? So they have a chip on their shoulder. When they get beat by someone, they don't forget it. They don't look at it, oh, no, that was last year. It's no big deal. It's a new season. They're like, oh, no, you came and beat us or actually we went there. Alabama went to Norman, but you beat us. We are still mad about that, and we're going to take it out on you. These fans in this stadium, Bryant Denny Stadium, Saban Field, are going to be electric because they remember this game last year.
I saw a clip from a movie the other day. I don't remember when it came out, 2010 to 2020, probably somewhere in there. And the main character was a teacher having a debate with a student about which one was better, LeBron James or Michael Jordan. And they were going back and forth, throwing all this stuff back and forth at each other. And of course, the teacher went to 6 NBA championships for Jordan. And the student replied, "That's the only argument that you've got." And the teacher answers back, "That's the only one I need. Alabama fan, 18
That's right.
national championships is the only argument you need. You win."
That's right. I'll give you the check mark. You got it.
There you go.
All right. So a 3-6 New Mexico State goes to Knoxville, Tennessee to take on a number 23, 6-3 overall. Tennessee Volunteers. Tennessee is favored to win that game by 41.5 points. They're going to crush them. Sorry, New Mexico State. It's not happening.
Yeah, New Mexico Aggie, not going to be your day. This will be a long one. Aggie R is going to have a great afternoon. I like the Vols all.
All right, a 3-6, 2-4 in the SEC. Struggling, coachless Florida takes on a 9-1, 5-1 in the 5-1 in the SEC. Number 7, Ole Miss in Oxford this year. Florida, you got them last year in the swamp. You come into the Grove, Jack. Mississippi State, Ole Miss is fair to win that game by 15.5 points, over and under 53.5. I don't think that spread is enough. I know it's been announced that DJ Lagway is going to be the starter after he got pulled last week. Look, I like Ole Miss in this, and I like it really, really big.
This weekend provides another opportunity for Lane Kiffin to sit in on another marriage proposal. I'm just going to say that. Let's put that out there. He helped push one over the. There you go. He helped a young man charm his bride-to-be last week on the on-field proposal, helped photobomb that moment, something that they will remember for a lifetime. This is going to be a game for Lane where he says, yeah, I'm not coming to Florida, and I'm going to beat you so bad that you don't want to call me back. I think that Chambliss and the Rebs have a great afternoon in Oxford, and Florida, another notch in a very, very long season. Hopefully they can come back with the right coaching decision this offseason, hold on to some of the guys that they've got, Lagway being one of them, but there'll be a lot of things to think about after Saturday in Gainesville.
Yeah, I think Austin Simmons could even show up by halftime.
He'll get some playing time. He will get some reps.
Oh, yeah. Look, man, a 5-5, 1-5 in the SEC. Mississippi State takes on a 6-3, 2-3 in the SEC. Quarterbackless Missouri. Now, I want to say that because I think that's very important right now. Missouri lost their starting quarterback, and it's showing. They are playing in Columbia, Missouri. Mizzou is favored to win that game by 7.5 points. I actually like Mississippi State in this game. I think they bounced back from a disappointing loss to Georgia last week. I think they win. I think Mississippi State wins this game. They become bowl eligible and stamp their ticket to a bowl game. That's what I think.
Eli Drinkwitz is known not only for his dark side and voodoo magic tricks, but he is known for being able to shape an offense. That guy right there.
Sorry.
He's known to shape an offense around a quarterback. He's known to sharpen some edges that you didn't think were anything but dull on a quarterback. I don't think he's going to do it that quickly with true freshman Zollers. I think that Bo Prabula being out really hurts Missouri. And I don't just mean it like, well, yeah, of course it hurts. You lose your start. No. to a point of dismantling their offense. They are completely one-dimensional, having to run the ball with Hardy. I think Mississippi State, and I would not have said this at the beginning of the year, I think they become bowl eligible with a win against Missouri on Saturday.
All right. We are equally yoked on this one, my friend. All right. One game left in the SEC. A number 10, 7-2, 4-1 in the SEC takes on a number 5, 8-1, 6-1 in the SEC, Georgia. Texas versus Georgia. Georgia beat Texas twice last year. We beat them in regular season in Austin, kind of like at the beginning of the season. I think it was like week 5 or something like that. Then we beat them in the SEC championship in a very close game. Gunnar Stockton remembers that game quite well. We remember Gunnar Stockton in that game quite well. They are playing in the motherland. Georgia is favored to win that game by 6.5 points. The over and under is 48.5. If Georgia plays this week like they did against Mississippi State last week, I don't think Texas has got a shot at all. I think Georgia will be way, way too much for them. I like Georgia in this game.
As I am apt to do, I will put off my prognostication in deference to my dear Uncle Kenny. Now, let me preface, I've skimmed his letter. I've not read it all the way through. Uncle Kenny's been struggling this year, fans. He's had more L's than W's, and you can tell that it's been affecting him. Thankfully, you'll all be happy to know that Uncle Kenny is single, with no children, no offspring that he knows of. So there's nothing to be taken out on anybody other than the occasional bottle of his dear friend Jack Daniels. But I digress. My letter from Uncle Kenny. In the soft light of autumn, closing in on Athens, a certain hush falls between the hedges. It's the kind of hush that tracks memory, the hum of a bell, the rustling of tailgates, a nod to ghosts of seasons past. And this year, as the Georgia Bulldogs ready themselves for a collision with the Texas Longhorns, that hush carries weight, history, expectation, and the quiet rumble of 2 seasons unfolding in tandem, each chasing something slightly different, yet forever connected. Georgia by now knows the drill. The badge, the red sleeve, the press game walk, the standard bearer of the Southeastern Conference. Texas, newly embraced by the SEC, has punched its ticket, lit the sky in Austin, and believes the stars are aligning for the burnt orange revival. But the ledger still reads, in the head-to-head series, Georgia holds the last 2 victories, 30-15 in Austin in 24 and 22-19 overtime in the SEC championship in Atlanta. Texas arrives hungry. Georgia arrives wary of even the whiff of complacency. There's poetry in that. Texas carrying decades of tradition, billions in scrutiny, the outsized promise of the next era. Georgia carrying the quiet defiance of excellence, the pragmatic fulfillment of expectation, the heavy burden of not just winning, but not losing to Texas. Under Kirby Smart, the Bulldogs aren't reinventing, they're refining. With a new signal caller in place, they've settled into their identity. Rugged, efficient, disciplined. The quarterback, Gunnar Stockton from Tiger, Georgia, I guess that's where he's from, carries the ball with a subtle ferocity. 2,080 yards passing, 15 touchdowns, just 2 interceptions. QBR hovering near 90. He doesn't leap off the highlight reel with acrobatics. He methodically dissects the second-level defenses, scrambles when the seams emerge, and rarely betrays panic. Georgia's defense remains the wrap and weft of the fabric. Not the sack monster machine of prior eras, but a disciplined front readable as a ledger of accountability. Their schedule grinds, their expectations higher. When they looked across the line at Texas, they saw not just burnt orange, but one more notch in the belt of tradition, one more hurdle to maintain their place. Texas is in the middle of a reinvention that feels more like marketing campaign than blood and bones turnaround. But that's changing. The quarterback, Arch Manning from New Orleans, carries the family name, the pressure, the brand. Time to lead the Longhorns out of the long shadow of the past. In 2025, he has 21 123 yards, 18 touchdowns to 6 interceptions, a QBR ratified in the 60s. He looks the part, but his trajectory is still climbing, his mistakes still present. Texas has talent. Steve Sarkisian is trying to reignite the flame, but joining the SEC means the gauntlet is longer. For every explosive drive, there's a defensive teaching moment. For every stirring play, there's a counter lesson the league hands out willingly. Georgia hasn't lost to Texas in recent memory. That matters. Those last two matchups in particular carry meaning. That undefeated portion isn't coincidence, it is culture. A program that stands on not just winning, but holding fast. Texas, meanwhile, has the weight of a program that demanded resurgence the moment it stepped into the SEC. They weren't just joining a conference, they were chasing legacy. Being part of the next chapter for Texas brings its own burdens. When Georgia and Texas meet, expect more than just another game. Expect layering of identity. Georgia defending its turf, its ethos. Texas seeking proof of arrival, proof of staying power, proof they can rewrite the ledger. If I were walking into the stadium with my notebook and a cold beer, wearing my Cinderella long cold winter t-shirt and scribbling impressions, the question I'd ask is this: who will own the moment? Will it be Georgia with its calm self-belief, its quarterback who skates under radar and still delivers? Or will it be Texas with its blaze of expectation, its quarterback purposed to be the next big thing? Uncle Kenny has picked against the Longhorns twice, and twice your Uncle Kenny has gotten burned, albeit with the help of a poorly motivated punt coverage. It might be time I give everyone's favorite completely average nephew some credit for what he has done on the field, and the Texas Longhorns are loaded with players. Maybe the time has come for Coach Sarkisian to finally win the big one and lead the team to an SEC championship and beyond. Uncle Kenny wouldn't dare pick against the Longhorns thrice, would he? I do dare. These Longhorns are soft. They are not ready for this. I mean, who signed off on them getting Vandy, Arkansas, Mississippi State, and Kentucky their first year in the league? To even accept that schedule tells you all you need to know about these pansies. The Texas Longhorns are walking directly into a buzzsaw.
I hope that's not the Lee Corso curse. I'm just saying.
I will tell you this. I completely agree with Uncle Kenny on this one. I think that I do see a build beginning to happen in Texas. I do see the turn beginning to right the ship for Arch Manning. Buddy, when it comes to this game, that ain't going to be enough in Athens on Saturday. Georgia is exactly as Uncle Kenny laid out. They are now a mature, dominant program in the SEC. They know how to take their bumps, their bruises. Their 8-1 record shows that, and yet they can continue to march to greatness, continue to march to SEC championship matchups, continue to march to the playoffs and beyond. It is, my friends, still the time of the Georgia Bulldog. It's not the time yet for the Longhorns. I think Georgia wins this game on Saturday, and I think that they put an end to the playoff hopes for the Longhorns this season, and they just strengthen their own resume. I like Gunnar Stockton in this matchup. I like the Georgia defense in this matchup. I don't think that Arch is going to have a game where we feel it's a setback in his development, but I also don't think Arch is going to have the kind of game that really propels him as a leap forward in his development, which would be a huge win. It ain't coming this week.
Yeah, I mean, there are playoff implications for Texas in this game. Texas drops this game. I mean, they're out. They have to win this one and against A&M to have a shot to stay in the playoffs. It's going to be hard pressed for a 3-loss team to get in, unless they beat Georgia and then beat A&M. That could be a compelling argument for the Texas Longhorns. So I think that may play a factor in this. That may give Texas that extra boost. Georgia can drop a game and still be fine, but I don't think Kirby wants to drop a game. And what I've seen in Georgia in the last several weeks that I haven't seen in several teams, and I think that this is a huge Right? It's later in the show, so I'm going to go huge factor moving forward, not even through this game, but all the way through the playoffs and maybe even to a national championship. We know Georgia's defense is good, but here's what I've seen, what I think has come around for the Georgia Bulldogs. One, Uncle Kenny was right. Hunter Stockton has got a QBR rating that is through the roof. It's number one in the country. He's thrown one pick. He's good. He's good in the air. He's good in his feet. He doesn't miss that much. He's just a very methodical player. A lot of Stetson Bennett type-ish playing. But here's what else is the biggest factor. Georgia's run offense is electric. They put up over 300 yards on the ground last week against a Mississippi State. They have been building this run offense for quite some time. When you got a guy that can throw it and has weapons to throw it to, and you've got 3 or 4 guys that can run it down your throat, and you top on a very good defense. Yes, they're not number one in sacks, not like typical Georgia football, but they're good on defense. They're always going to be good on defense. Georgia's a very dangerous team coming to the end of the stretch. I like Georgia big in this game, but I like Georgia big moving forward in the rest of the season.
I think that there's another aspect to this game that wasn't touched on as deeply as it could have been through Uncle Kenny's address, and that is this. We talk a lot about the coaching tree that is Nick Saban, and both Steve Sarkisian of Texas and Kirby Smart come from that coaching tree, having worked under the greatest to ever do it. Kirby Smart did it longer than any of the others.
Way longer.
So he learned more. We talk about Georgia. Sure, they could afford to drop a game, but Kirby doesn't want to. I think that Kirby still comes from that Nick Saban mentality of afford to drop a game. What are you kidding? Why do we play this game? You play to win the game, right? Playoffs. You play to win the game. Kirby is not interested in, well, we could still get in with 2 losses. Kirby doesn't care about that. Kirby wants a 12-0 record. Kirby wants to be 13-0 after winning the SEC championship. Kirby wants to coast through the playoffs and hoist the natty. Kirby's not interested in any one single loss. Every win is important. Every win is demanded. Every ounce of talent is required from his guys on Saturday. And you see that across the board. Again, I'm not taking anything away from Sarkisian. I don't think Sarkisian values losses. I think that he looks at it in a similar fashion. However, Kirby's been doing it longer. I think that Georgia is built in such a fashion. They've matured more than the Longhorns have at this point. Georgia wins big.
Yeah, I think so. The good thing is I get to be surrounded by a family this weekend as I watch this game. I'm going to be with one of our producers, Joey. He's going to be there. The Gooch will be there, watch the game with me. And look, I'll even have Smoking D on there.
Wow.
Watching the game with Smoking D. I know, so it's going to be a lot of red and a little bit of burnt orange in the room watching that game together. It should be a great time. It should be a great game to watch. I'm really looking forward to it. Go Dogs. Look, man, that's all I've got. Follow us on social media. Love us, like us. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell someone. Chicken, you got anything?
Jesus won, and I am all crowed out.
All right, guys, love you. Deuces.